A wise man once said that life is a series of compromises. When you're buying anything, especially cameras, you can't have everything. You have to trade this off for that, price off for quality, specs off against each other, and size against features. What if I told you could get a full frame camera that has a good frames per second, is just about the lightest in the class, has a rugged magnesium alloy body, has dual card slots, has a variable tilty flippy screeny thing, has mic input and headphone output, has a really well functioning live view feature that means that shooting on the LCD works just as well as using the eye viewfinder, has access to some of the best glass ever made, and is one of the cheapest for its class in the market. What would you say? Huh? What would you say? Sony A99. There's a lot to like. Let's have a look. Now, as I said, life is about compromises, but I've been shooting with this one all day, and honestly, I'm really enjoying it. It's surprisingly lightweight for such a big, chunky camera that really fits into my big hands well. It's just a dream to shoot with, and it's really light. The tilty flippy funny monitor is a good quality one, like the NEX7. The frame on it feels like it's really good quality, and man, it performs really well. Of course, however, there are compromises. So let's take a look through the features of this bad boy. Taking a look around the A99, the first thing that strikes you is it's got nice clean lines. The first thing when you pick it up is, damn, this feels like a sturdy camera, and I thought it would have weighed more. Of course, once you pair it with a massive lens like the Zeiss 24-70, it starts to get heavy. The body is made of magnesium alloy. It's got a maximum resolution of 24 megapixels, a neat 6000 by 4000. It is of course full frame. It's a CMOS sensor, and it's using their latest Bions processor. The ISO will go all the way up to 25,600. I'll show you some sample shots in a little while. And it's incredibly well connected. It's got GPS, it's got a DC input port, it's got the sync terminals for your flash, and it's got the headphone port, microphone port, HDMI, and USB. Really well connected. One thing its closest competitors, the D800 and the 5D Mark III, don't have, this has built-in sensor shift stabilization, which is really handy. You don't need to add it into the body of each of the lenses. And it isn't seeming to add much weight at all to the camera. In fact, this one weighs in at 812 grams, whereas the other two are around about or just over 900 grams, so more than 10% lighter than them. It also has a big autofocus assist lamp, only 19 autofocus points. They're all grouped in the middle in an odd configuration, but I have to say I found it really responsive for focusing. I was so impressed. If someone hadn't told me that it was 19 focus points and I was just going off the performance, I was satisfied. The rear LCD screen is 3 inches and it's fully articulated, goes in all kinds of crazy different directions as you can see. However, it's not touchscreen. The resolution on it is 1.229 million pixels. It's incredibly well resolved, and it's quite well responsive as well. The viewfinder is electronic. It's not an optical viewfinder. However, it has 100% coverage, 0.71 magnification, which is quite common, and the resolution in that tiny little screen is 2.35 million dots, so more than almost double what the huge 3-inch screen at the back has. In terms of speed, it's good for up to 6 frames a second. The minimum shutter speed is 30 seconds, the maximum is 1/8000, so nice and fast. It doesn't have a built-in flash at all though. Where that would have been, on top it's got a full stereo mic to complement the mic input. Thankfully it's got a traditional hot shoe, so you can use all different accessories in there. It has all the different photo modes in it, including things like sweep for panorama, which are normally in more mid-range cameras, but they seem to be fairly well implemented. It also has 5 stops of exposure compensation in each way, which is great, and 3 to 5 stops in exposure bracketing. Only 3 stops in white balance bracketing, however. It has dual memory cards. It'll take any of the SD formats, plus Memory Stick Pro, which is a bit like including a 5.25-inch floppy drive, but for people who are committed to the Sony system and have memory sticks, then of course you want to be able to use them in there. The battery life is good for 500 shots. And in terms of size, it's big, you know. It's a full-size full frame camera, and I had no problem with it with my big hands. In terms of dials, I actually don't mind the mode lock on this one. I normally am not a fan, but this one is well implemented. It's not fiddly and you can put it on and off really easily. Everything else, this has a lot of buttons. Some people don't like buttons. I like to be able to press one button and go straight to where I want rather than going through a menu. So I found the button layout on this really good. It's got the 2 dials for, shutter speed and aperture or whatever else you're controlling in the menu system, as well as the little joypad in the back. Really nice. And it's dust and moisture resistant. Let's take a look at some sample shots. That one there is shot at ISO 320. Obviously, nice and clean. Next up, 800. Still next to perfect. 1600. Totally usable. 3200. Starts to get a little bit mushy in there. 64. Okay, here at 12,800, things are really getting a bit messy. Let's go in close on the shirt so you can see just how grainy that is. And then next up at 25,600, that's the camera's highest ISO. And there we are with a close-up on the bag. Here's another 25,600 taken of the DCW store in Canterbury. But, the sort of shots you're more likely to be taking. Here's a shot taken indoors at ISO 2500. And then here's one at 2000 ISO, and that's 100% crop. So pretty tidy, really. So look, there are trade-offs. Of course there are. First of all, it doesn't have a pop-up flash, which I really like in my D800. Also, the fact that it's not a true SLR, it's not an optical viewfinder you're looking through, it's a little screen inside there, is a downside, and it will put a lot of people off. But in practical terms, in terms of actually using it, it's nice and bright, it's extremely responsive, probably the most responsive of any of this kind of screen I've used before. And it's accurate. You get 100% viewfinder coverage, and the fact that it's using that kind of focus motor, and so that means you can go and use the live view without actually having to flip the mirror out of the way and that kind of thing. It's a really great performer, I have to say. I'd even go so far as to say, like I get asked in those hypothetical questions, if I couldn't shoot with Nikon anymore, all other things being even and no commitment to a brand, I would probably choose this, over the Canon and the other full frame options out there. It is beautifully responsive, it's really nice to use, and shooting with this Zeiss 24-70 has been a joy. The connectivity is fantastic, the flash sync speed is good, built-in mic is good, all of the mic input and the headphone output, the easy to access dials and everything. I really think this is a winner, and it's cheaper than the D800. It's cheaper than the 5D Mark III. You are going into Sony, which, has fantastic legacy of lenses, but fewer lenses in the current lineup than Nikon or Canon, likewise with other accessories. I wish it had compact flash instead of memory stick, a few other little things like that, but this feels like a really rugged, durable camera, and I really like shooting with it, so there's not much more I can say than that. I think, having the steady shot built in and having the GPS and having all of these features, which are often on lower end cameras but integrated well, can be really helpful, like this screen, which is a really good screen, it's great quality, and it is really actually helpful. I think it's going to suit a lot of people. So let me know what you think. If you've been using one of these, if you contemplated getting one compared to the other brands, let me know. Whilst you're here, click to like and subscribe, jump over to thatnikonguy.com and sign up for our mailing list, and I'll see you soon. Hey, also check out my latest project, the Take Control of the Light Workshop series. Here's a video on storytelling with Tina. Here's one on gift buying for your photography friends. And finally, if you're not already subscribed to the That Nikon Guy channel, do. That's where I teach you all about photography.